Welcome, everybody, to our day 42 of live broadcast in the spring of 2020. And today we're introducing, if you're looking at this in the future, you're probably clicked on to the chapter 1 introduction to the Wolf Journey Trail of the Neighborhood Naturalist. And starting that journey is so wonderful. By the end of the 20 or so chapters,
Pardon me?
which you can. Kim wanted to clean off.
That's better.
Oh, that much better. Yes, job.
Oh, yeah.
During this entire process, as we mentioned in the introduction to the Neighborhood Naturalist, you can consider you're a naturalist the entire time. And at the end, maybe even print out a certificate that you are a neighborhood naturalist, or you're in a local resource
Definitely.
for urban and rural habitat conservation in your area. And it might be just your immediate yard. Like we're going to talk about finding study sites, creating a journal. Tomorrow, the first exercise is finding your study site. Mine's, spoiler alert, right here on the porch.
Mine is not.
Kim's is out in the wilds.
Right.
And so we'll visit both tomorrow and kind of determine those square foot and square meters and the view, and that kind of thing, and what the boundaries of them are. And Kim has a great journal ideas that she's going to share with you today, because it's important to create some kind of a journaling or documenting system. And you can do old school naturalists.
We'll go through it.
We can do online. We can do blogging. You can do just on computer desktop, wherever you want to do it. But before we started and get into that, I really want to inspire you with a story of one particular funny story that happened to me, very inspiring and funny story that happened to me when I had one of my study sites in a previous location about 25 years ago. When I had just started, had just envisioned wolf camp. I'd come back from the wilderness and was living on Lummi Island, which is near Bellingham, Washington, out in the San Juan Islands. Absolutely beautiful. Can't imagine the most gorgeous, had to find the most perfect study site. But now I realize that my porch is going to be just perfect for, learning all the things I need to learn now and relearn. And so this spot was underneath, I didn't at the time know anything about it, but it turns out after I studied that I was actually sitting underneath an ancient old growth Douglas fir tree. Yeah, because these trees on the craggy rock edges of the islands had never been logged, because they, were just growing off of rocks. So they were all gnarly and just, growing slowly. And of course, God forbid anybody cut one of those down.
Not good for
you
money
could
right there.
try with a microscope. Yeah, definitely not good for long. Count the growth rings if possible. They're so close together, even with the naked eye, you couldn't even tell the difference probably between them. That's how slowly these trees grow out there. And anyways, but it was a good 30 feet tall, and which, for a Douglas fir out here in the Pacific Northwest is nothing. You get to be, I don't know, a couple feet tall. About that.
Thank you. Really watered down mango tango. Yeah. Really good stuff.
We have only once in any live broadcast cut out a section, because it was just not necessary. But thank you. I don't know what got in my throat. Hopefully that's gone before I start singing my song. That goes along with his story. Okay, so I was sitting underneath it during one of my it was kind of like once in a while, for a stretch of a couple of 3 days, nothing happens at your study site.
Yeah, nothing.
And, as before, I realized kind of Kim's method, which is to choose a square foot, and you discover when you can even get, a magnifying glass and everything, discover there's so much happening, even in one little square inch. But anyway, so I was sitting, because I wanted big, magnificent things to happen. And so, and I think I learned my lesson in this story, because I was sitting there looking out over a beautiful view. Of course, I was getting really spoiled with the beautiful view. I was like, oh, another nothing happening in this beautiful, wild, oceanside, seaside, amazing spot. And I hear this scritching and scratching, short of not paying any attention to it. I look up, and all I see are giant wings spreading out like this. And it's just this giant, of course, it's a bald eagle, just kind of like falls off the branch. And as it was doing that, it also decided to do what birds often do when they first take off, which is scat,
defecate
right there. And so it was probably at the top of the tree. So it might have been 30 feet or 25 feet up there. And it just came down at me slow, not the eagle, but the scat came down at me in slow motion. And I was like, wow. Unfortunately, either I shut my mouth in time or, well, actually, I know what happened. A big gust of wind came up off the sea.
And saved you?
And just blew that defecation over, and it splattered on the ground next to me. Did splash onto my pant leg.
Oh, nice.
So I was blessed by the eagle in that way. Different traditions don't consider it that much of a blessing. I will always consider it a blessing. But just interestingly, I'd never seen this before, but that eagle never flapped. And it went out over the water and just started, and it came back around, and it was higher. Never had flapped, and higher.
Got the thermals.
And higher, and higher. And I wonder if there's actually thermals out there in the middle of the winter on Lummi Island. I would say it was some sort of
the middle of winter.
Yeah, I would say that maybe there was a north wind that was like hitting and going up or something. I mean, maybe the sun was hitting something to warm it up. Anyways, so yes, it just rose and rose and rose and rose and rose and rose and rose until I couldn't see it anymore, and it was like disappeared into the sky. Very good eyesight. I was very blessed for a long time to have eyesight really well. Not so great now after looking at a computer all the time for all these years. But anyways, so that is my story of sometimes at your study site, absolutely amazing things will happen. I'm looking at these mason bees coming into our mason bee, which you can look at one of the previous broadcasts back here in spring of 2020 when we did one every day, and we did a couple on the mason bees, just following a bee, and they're just absolutely covered with pollen coming back in there.
They look like
barely
honeybees,
get in
even
there.
though they're not orange or yellow at all. They're black.
And when you discover and you look at one up close in magnifying glass, the incredible beauty and intricacy, it's like looking at an eagle up close. It's amazing. So this song I'm going to sing is by the same composer that I introduced the book generally on the Neighborhood Naturalist page, first page of it, which is by my friend Leslie Lightfall, who passed away last year, but left behind a legacy of music and art and singing to the land that is just indescribable. Her website and YouTube page, all those things are still up live, and so they're very inspirational. Some of her photographies and videotaping is just incredible. Places have been around the world. She was around the world to inspire people like me, and I was in my early 20s to do things like this. And so I'm going to sing a song by her called Eagle Soars, but I'll wait until we have to talk about what we're here for, which is journaling. Yes. By the way, I went home and I was a very good journal after that eagle experience. I'll tell you what. Wrote that one down. Matter of fact, I'm not sure whether I included it in the first version of Wolf Journey back when I printed this 21 or so years ago. And this is basically the first rewrite and republication. It's going to be all online.
Lucky you.
With our live video broadcast. Along with it. This one?
Sheet that I filled out that I printed off.
Yeah, do you want the journaling cover page for the studying experiences or the Earth Skills assessment?
I already did mine.
Okay, great.
But
Kim-
I can hold it.
Kim just redid or did maybe.
Yes.
Had
So
you ever
when
done it
you
before?
So when you
cool.
go on the website, you will find there is a journaling cover page for the Wolf Journey exercises, and it's really great. It's got a ton of information that will help walk you through what you want to note about the day and the time and everything when you're out in the field, in case you forget. So this is just a great resource to have that kind of covers all those cool details, which you may not even know why you need them now, but they help form a complete picture of your site and all the things that you experience.
Yeah, now you can sometimes you skip a few things that are on there. You can create your own.
Yes.
This is just a sample. You can use the one that I wrote. This was one I wrote back in the day, but of course we'll probably update it over time.
Yeah, and like you said, you can do your own because there may be things that aren't on here that you really think are important, and vice versa. And so this is something that did you fill this out every day that you went out?
Well,
Or was your
I'd like to
guide-
say I did every
It was
day.
your guide for every day
Yes.
you go out. So once again, make it, so that it suits you. So this is one of the things that you'll find on the website. And this is one of the ways that you can start your whole experience. But the other thing you want to do is fill out the Earth Skills assessment. And I actually did this as well as my first time I did it today. And there were actually a few things that I didn't know. I was really surprised.
Whoa.
Yes.
Cool.
And we'll see if anybody can guess what you think I didn't know. And I got 2 out of 3 on some of them, but there was actually one I was like,
Kim's not exactly
into.
She's.
It's number 11.
She is now a
I'll just
vegetarian.
tell you.
I'll have to call her out.
Yeah, no, but don't tell them what it is. It's
Number
number
11.
11.
Yeah,
Y'all have
she's
to
not
go
gonna
check
know
it
that.
out. Yeah. So I got 2 good guesses, but the third one I was like, ew, just ew. No.
Yeah, well, those are ones that would be more appropriate for book or
Yes,
skills
that's true.
of
But
the
it's actually kind of, this is one
survivalist.
of those, it's like a quiz that's really fun to go through and see what you know and don't know. And
permaculture.
if you don't know, just put, I don't know, or put a big square on there.
Yeah, because you want to go back and look at
Mhm.
when you're done with the book, when you're done with this course, so you can go back.
I decided that I was going
The
to.
birds are singing, meaning that you should
That I'm
talk.
supposed to talk?
If they're
Okay,
alarming,
so-
it's me be quiet.
This is just to get you thinking about how you want to begin your what your approach is going to be. And so in terms of journaling, I am not the best journaler. I always get super inspired at the beginning, and then it gets harder and harder for me. So I want to set this up in a way that it's really, really easy for me to do. So we talked about different kinds of journals that you can do, and online, Chris really made it obvious about, you can set up a Google Doc or different things you can do with your computer, or go to an old school journal. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of both, because I like to have something with me so that I can take some notes in the field, and do some sketches in the field. I can always scan those in or just save them in like a 3-ring binder or something like that. But I'm also going to use the computer because I'm on the computer a lot. And if I put it in an area that's easy to get to and I'm already excited about it, I'll just open it up and type in it. So I'm really excited about that. So I am going to be using Google Drive, and I have saved these 2 sheets, which were PDFs, as Google Docs so that I can use them easily and keep them in my file, which is my Wolf Journey file, which I'm going to make super easily accessible. Okay, so that's the computer aspect of it. And then I set up just a document that I'll start typing in. But the field aspect of it, I think, is way more fun. And that's what helps me get really inspired, because I love getting all the fiddly things together. Could you take this for a minute? So as far as actually taking a journal in the field goes, you can get super fancy and you can get a big artist style notebook. It doesn't have any lines in it. It's got perforations in it. And this works really, really well for some people. This does not work as well for me because it's big. And if I get it, a gallon zippy bag, just an old one that I've rinsed out, don't have to use a new one for it, but it's just to protect in case we get some changes in weather. And I'm actually going to I might carry 2 with me. So here's what I'm considering. This one is super inexpensive, so it's uber affordable. It has lines in it. It's a spiral bound notebook, so I can get this cover out of my way because it drives me crazy to have the cover in my way. And I can just stick my little pen on the outside. And this is really cool because you've got space where you can do, here's a good example. So you can sketch a plant that's in your area. You can, you could do a landscape. You could do a really cool flower, the colorful, cool things to do. So because these are small, they're easily portable. I can stick them in my zippy bag, and I'm good to go. Okay, other things in my zip: ruler. You never know where to use it. I still do. Scissors, because I just love having scissors around. Snack.
And this show and tell
And
is a
measuring tape.
preview to when we go out. Now, of course, we know already where our study sites are going to be.
I'm still
But
working on
tomorrow's
mine.
first study experience, which is finding your study site, or rediscovering it. For instance, I'm going to try to rediscover everything tomorrow that I can see at a first in the backyard. It's a good habit to be in.
It is a good habit
to have
be
them
in.
in the trunk of your
that'll
car.
keep me from being lazy. Then your 10 essentials are ready to go. Let's say you had some emergency at home and you need to grab your bag and go. You got your 10 essentials ready. I was just going to show. Can I show one more thing? So this is a little tiny journal, and usually it's too small to have something like this to do like field studies in necessarily. But you might get inspired like I do, and decide to just do leaf rubbings. So I don't know if you guys can see, this is a plantain. And I did the other kind of plantain, there's lanceleaf and broadleaf. And then this was kind of fun, stinging nettle. So I like to have an extra little journal where I can do a fancy side project that I have. And then I never leave home and go into the field without
your handy dandy.
My handy dandy hand lens, because there are bugs out there that I need to see up close. I love it. And binoculars. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to carry in the field. Oh, and water. I have water there too.
Now, some people don't like to carry anything heavy or whatever because back when I had really good eyesight, I did not want to have binoculars because it would get in the way. Actually see it and be able to identify a bird really quickly in the field. Not so much anymore. I need binoculars to be able to identify them, but back in the day, I really liked that, and I focused a lot on sounds and that kind of thing.
Can I have one more thing?
Skills.
Two more things. Yeah. Okay, so with binoculars, they're really great to have, but when you look at something through binoculars, you're effectively cutting off everything else in the periphery. So if anything else is going on, that's a problem.
Teaches you awareness skills to expand your periphery and expanded awareness.
But the last thing that I'm going to bring in the field, actually, that I left off is my cell phone, because I use that as my camera. Yeah. And I love to take photographs of the things that I find in the field. Or videos. Sometimes. Or videos, yeah, you could do videos, but I love having my camera. I have so many plants.
Yeah, it's kind of a balancing act between having all these things and distracting from experiencing what's happening.
That's true.
And trying to record what's happening. So
that's true.
Everybody's going to do that differently. They might just experience it later and do a sketch of it.
And know that I'm starting out with all this stuff. Now, in a month, we'll see what I have.
Yeah, that's true. Now, let's see. I was going to mention something about, the field, but
So anyway, tonight is your night to think about getting yourself mentally prepared for it. You can get yourself a little bit physically prepared for it. But do a little bit of research. Think about what what's the word you use for it? Not your goal, your
intentions. Yes.
And so my intention is to improve my knowledge and understanding as a naturalist, so that I can share that information with other people, because I want to inspire them. And the best way to inspire them is to have experiences out in the field that you can share that are really awesome and amazing and that you love. So that's my intention.
Yeah, and also it's nice to have a hook or a trick to inspire yourself to keep going and achieve your intention, realize it. And mine is always publicly stating that I'm going to do something. Yeah, and because I grew up with just absolute guilt trip. If you said you were going to do something and you didn't, you were totally guilt tripped, and it was a great trick to get me motivated. This whole thing about doing what you say you're going to do, and so that's why when it works for a lot of people to have to actually create a blog that you can either keep it private or you can share it with us or just the world generally. Share it with your friends.
Sure.
And it'd be cool if you sent us your link as well to state that I'm going to put on the Wolf College blog my study sites. The problem is I'm also afterwards journal and blog about what I actually did in the field here. I mean, obviously the broadcasts are kind of part of that. So
I was thinking you were going to publicly state that I was going to do it. Throw me under the bus.
Yeah, we're a great team that way. Continue with wow. By the way, the one of the things we're adding to the study experiences is, and then we'll obviously come back and edit them over time and see how they work out. But one of our, now that everybody's studying at home because nobody's going to school right now, is gamifying everything. Apparently,
I'm not sure what that
one
means.
of our Wolf Camp board members suggested that because she's always homeschooled her kids, they're wonderful, and she says that people are getting tired and everybody's being told to blog right now, and so she said, well, you should gamify it. I was like, what is that? Well, we're going to actually think of a game for every single one of the study experiences, so people that are into that can do that, others that want to blog afterwards and document that way. So for instance, go out and find as many, rocks you do. Good, because I don't.
No, I was just thinking,
so
God, see how many scats you can find, and then you have to find bird scats, and I don't know.
that is such a great one.
Mice. I was thinking bugs.
Oh,
man.
yeah, that's true.
It's all over. So great.
All right, so in honor of the eagle,
that scat in your,
and inspiring you all to dream big about this trail of the neighborhood naturalist and the intentions that you have for it, and the conservation that you're going to and want to inspire around you in your study site. This is Eagle Soars. Eagle soars way up high over hills, through blue skies. Watch eagles fly. Hear its cry. Winds blow from the sea. Autumn wind set leaves free. Gentle breezes warm with spring melt the snow. New life begins. Watch tall grass, a little faster, and then sway. Just this part. It's on its way. Still and know. Feel it grow. The wind brings a change when it blows. Nice. And it slows down for this part. This is the deep part. Spirit moves like the wind. Unseen force, unseen friend, ever present, dwelling within. Spirit moves like the wind. Hear the wind. Spread your wings and touch the wind. It takes less effort than face to try. So spread your wings, take off and fly. Just spread your wings. Finishes it off just perfectly. Now the bird to learn. Well, everybody, look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Live broadcast if you're watching it live. First time we're switching to 9 a.m. based on all the feedback from the Survey Monkeys. That's a good time so that even if people miss it, they can watch it later. But of course, you can do just one of these study experiences once a week and do it all at your own pace. As you mentioned the other day, doing the entire trail in that neighborhood naturalist over the course of 2 years, a year and a half is really deep. But if you can knock it out in a season like we're going to do, that'll be fun.
Like I'm going to do.
All right, everybody,
A good problem.
be well and take care. Dream big and
Be inspired.
be inspired, but dream big, but also probably be